everybody. This is Scott Hudspeth with Agent Mastermind. Welcome to another call. And man, am I excited today. I have a dear friend with me, real estate icon, Dean Jackson is on the call with me right now as we speak. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. It's sunny and warm and beautiful in Florida.
Yeah, yeah. We're supposed to be at 68 and 82 on Thursday, so I'm very excited about that because it's literally the best 8 days we've had in 7 months, they've said.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So you kind of know what we've been going through. But hey, I'm honored. I'm so honored to have you on the call. I really appreciate your time, taking time out of your schedule. You have an amazing class for us. We have an amazing group for you. A lot of agents all over the U.S. So I'm just excited to be able to hopefully change someone's life today for the better, and help somebody grow, and more listings, more buyers, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be with you here, man. If you have any questions for me or want to spin anything off me, I'm here with you. So what do you got for us today?
Well, I'm very excited because this, as the first of hopefully many calls that we get to do together, I wanted to really share something that everybody could use to really have an incredible return on relationships. And that's a word that people don't often hear. They don't think about something. You think about return on investment, you think about return on capital, all those things. But what really is the most exciting thing for a real estate agent, and it's competition proof, and nobody else has the same relationships that you do, is your return on relationships. So we're going to talk about the secret psychology of why people refer real estate agents and how to be the only one they refer. So I'm very excited because everybody knows 50 or 100 or 150 people that they would recognize and know them by name, and those people are the relationships that really can be an incredible tool for your business. And we're going to talk about the psychology of how to orchestrate referrals with those relationships, and the psychology of what's actually going on and why people actually refer.
Beautiful, man. So, hey, for everybody on the call that doesn't know Dean, Dean, I think everybody knows you, but if not, Dean has been in the real estate, has been a realtor for 26 years now, since 1988, and he has done very, very well, to say the least. And now he's out there helping other agents to do the same. So again, 26 years in the business. Dean,
yeah, isn't that amazing? I feel like I was just thinking about that. Well, last year was 25 years. I got my license in 1988. I'm no longer a practicing realtor now, but started in 1988 in just outside of Toronto in Canada, and then it's from 1994, 1995, with Joe Stump, we built a big coaching organization called By Referral Only. And so getting referrals has really been one of the major focuses of my professional career. And so what we're talking about today is really like the culmination of 20 years of research and practice of getting referrals. And so I'm very excited to share that with everybody.
Excellent, excellent. So let's do this, man. We got a big group here and growing still. So
awesome.
We took a couple minutes just to make sure everybody had a chance to get out, but there's still a bunch of people coming on. So for some reason, if you missed this class today, make sure to get with the loan professional that sent you here to get a copy of this and the PowerPoint. It'll be available for you hopefully later today, but for sure tomorrow. So get with your loan professional who sponsored you to get to this class, and we'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about referrals right away, because a lot of times people have some misconceptions about referrals, or some discomfort about referrals sometimes. A lot of times the psychology that people have is that they kind of feel and act like somebody giving them a referral is doing them a favor. And they kind of, a lot of people get uncomfortable with the thought of sort of asking for referrals. And the real thing, when you really understand why people refer, you start to understand that's the furthest thing from the truth, and it makes you feel so much more comfortable in actually orchestrating referrals. And the best way to kind of look at the psychology is because it's all around us. It happens every day. We're constantly referring things, whether it's books or movies or restaurants. And if you think about it for yourself, if you think about the last thing that you referred to somebody. Now, a referral is really just an introduction. You're introducing something to somebody. That you do that because you're excited about the information. You're excited about the movie or the book or the restaurant or the service provider, and you want your friend to have a great experience. You want them to have that. And so when we look at it, you're not at all uncomfortable referring a book or a movie or a restaurant to somebody if you think about the way you refer things. And what I want to point out, though, is that what always happens when you do introduce something to somebody is you are, the next time you see them, it's on your mind and you're looking for that acknowledgement. So you're looking for them to say, oh, wow, thank you for recommending that restaurant, or wow, that movie was great, or we went to that restaurant. And you're looking for that. And as soon as you get that, you get these squirts of dopamine, you get this great feeling, you feel good, you kind of puff up a little bit, and you feel great because you brought that good thing into their world. Now, if we go way back, we go back to our genetic wiring, the way that we're wired for this. What's really happening there is that for that moment, it raises our status in the herd. And now that sounds way out there, Scott, but the thing about it is that when we were a herd society, there was always this fear of if we ever needed to cull the herd, or you needed to as the society was developing, we always had to kind of prove our value to the herd. So if I introduce you to something that you didn't know about, and I'm the reason that you are introduced to that, I feel higher status than you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's really, when you think about it like that, these are like deep down things that are happening below the surface that we don't even realize. So we're always looking for those things to do. We're looking for things that we can add value to our friends, especially our closest friends and relatives, the people that we are in relationship with. So when we start looking at it now, we want to start thinking about, well, how do referrals happen? And it's easy for us to, when we take it away from real estate and we take it to the things that we're used to referring, because the psychology and the mechanics are all the same, no matter what's being referred or who's being referred. So I'll give you an example. This is my friend Josh, and we were having lunch one day, and I had just come from getting a massage. And so we're at the cafe. Josh comes in, he's kind of limping a little, tenderly sits down, and I'm like, what happened? He goes, oh man, I twisted my back. I woke up this morning, and when I got in the shower, when you just move this certain way and your back catches, and he said, it's just been bugging me all day. So I had just come from Jana, and I picked up my phone. I called Jana right away. I said, hey, Jana, can you fit in Josh here right after lunch? He twisted his back and he needs to get it loosened up. And she said, sure, I can. I handed the phone to Josh, and he went to see Jana, and she fixed him right up. And the next time I saw him at Starbucks, he was all appreciative, and I felt good. And I even know what's happening. I mean, I know that this stuff is happening, but we don't even think about it. That's the way it happens. I didn't refer Jana because I was going to get a toaster for referring her, or I was going to win some prize, or she was going to give me money for referring him. I introduced Jana to my friend Josh because she's a good thing in my life, and I wanted him to have that same thing. I wanted to help him relieve that pain that he was in. So when we start to really think about the way that referrals actually happen, that's the most I mean, that's the most prevalent thing that happens. All referrals are a result of conversation. Now, but three things have to happen in that conversation in order for a referral to take place. Number one, they have to notice that the conversation's about real estate. Number two, they have to think about you. And number three, they have to introduce you into the conversation. All three of those things have to happen for a referral to take place. So, you know, we were in the, I was at lunch with Josh. I noticed that his back was bothering him. I immediately thought of Jana because I had just come from her, and I would have thought of her anyway. And I introduced the two of them. Jana, can you fit Josh in? Josh, here's Jana. That was the completion of a referral. Now, when you think about it, how many times for every referral that you do get, it's always had to follow those three steps. It had to happen. But how many times do you think for every referral that you get, somebody was in a conversation about real estate, but they didn't even notice it? Or they noticed that the conversation was about real estate, but that didn't immediately lead to a thought of you. Or they did think of you, but they didn't introduce you into the conversation. Or they thought of you and they said, oh, you should call my friend Scott. And left it at that. And then you run into them in the grocery store 3 months later and they say, hey, did my friend John ever give you a call? I was talking to him about you, telling him he should, you know, that you could sell his house. And that you say, no, I never heard from him. And, oh, I told him all about you. And that falls apart. That's happening so much more than the referrals that you actually get. Isn't it interesting when you think about it like that, Scott? I mean,
you know, it's funny. I don't know if people caught the word. You kind of mentioned it. The dopamine that is released when you actually do something nice for somebody else. That's a real deal. That's like that. I don't know. That actually is responsible for like you getting sick and not getting sick. The more dopamine you have, like for me, I get to sit here on this class and with, 1,000 people every single week, and hopefully, I get testimonial after testimonial. That's shots of dopamine every single day for me because somebody else is taking like what you're going to teach us today and all this stuff and incorporating that into their life. It's a little shot. So they're helping somebody, and that person's referring. So as somebody refers you, they actually feel good, or you help somebody with something that makes them feel good. That's a real deal. That's like how we're, like back in the herd when you help somebody and you to build your stature or build who you are. That's a real thing. And as you study that, I've been doing a lot of studying of the 4 chemicals that are released, and dopamine's like by far the best one for us.
When you get the
I love that.
It. Yeah, it's so good. So, and that is exactly the way that we feel. You can imagine, you know how great you feel when you're just going about your day and then all of a sudden you get a call and somebody says, hey, I was talking to my friend Dean and he said that you could help me sell my house.
Right.
Or get a loan, and that makes you feel great. That's how you get those squirts when those happen, right? So we know that all referrals have to go through that process there, but there are 3 types of referrals, and I'm going to have people can type in something right as we're doing this call. Can we get them to type something in
Absolutely.
If I ask
whatever
okay.
You want. Yeah,
all right.
So we got a big audience. So.
This is kind of fun because I did this. We would do big main events. We'd have 600 or 800 people in a room, and I would do this every event. I would ask people I would get 10 people to stand up, and I would have them tell me the story of the last referral that they got. So I'm going to ask everybody listening, just think about in your mind the last referral that you got. Just get a clear picture of who that was and the situation around that. And then I would get them, Scott, to tell me the story of that referral. And I would just say, I just want to know the name of the person that was referred to you and how it happened. So they would tell me one of these stories. This categorized. I did this for 5 years, probably 600 different people standing up and telling me these stories over a 5-year period. And they would tell me story number 1 was I got a call from John, and he told me that my client Scott had told him that I could help him sell his house, and that was probably 70 or 80% of the stories that I got, and I call that a passive referral, because you got the referral, you didn't expect it, you didn't do anything to make it happen, and you didn't have to do anything to follow up with it. The client called you directly, the referred client called you directly and said, hey, my friend John says you're a good guy and you can help me get a mortgage or help me sell my house. That's a passive referral. Now, the second type is a reactive referral, and that's a story that starts out, my client Scott called me and told me that his friend John was going to be selling his house and that I should give him a call because he was telling him all about me. So that is getting a call from your client to give you a lead or a tip or an introduction to somebody, and that is what I call a reactive referral, because now you have to do something. They're not just falling in your lap. You have to actually do something. Now, when I did this, I ended up that it was 70 or 80% passive and 20 or 30% reactive, but what I never heard was an orchestrated referral, because as I was going, I'm checking off. I had 3 letters at the top of the easel. It said PRO, so nobody didn't know what I was doing, but I was putting a check mark in the column where they were, and I never had a situation where I heard an orchestrated referral. And an orchestrated referral sounds like I was showing houses in this townhouse complex, and there was only a couple on the market, so I sent a quick email to my client, Mark, who lives in River Run, and said, hey, Mark, I'm showing townhouses in River Run. There's only a couple on the market right now. Have you heard anybody talking about selling their townhouse? We may be able to match them up with this couple from Atlanta. I never heard an orchestrated situation, and these situations are all around us. We've got so many opportunities to orchestrate referrals, and that's where the real magic is. That's where the real magic is in getting referrals. And everybody kind of loves referrals and gets them. Not too many people don't get referrals. I mean, if you're a nice person and you've got friends and you know people and you've got family, there's a certain percentage of your business is going to be people who already know you, like you, and trust you, or they're friends. That's really, it happens. But if it's just happening passively and reactively, you're missing out on a volume knob for your business, something that you could really control. So it's pretty exciting like that. So just out of curiosity, what I'd love to hear is just the word passive, reactive, or orchestrated for the person that was last referred to you. Just type that in there as we go, just to get a sense of whether on this group it falls into those same categories.
About more passive right now. One thing that we did a class on farming your database. Hey, Dean, this is this is a question maybe, but to call your past database and have we talk about the frog conversation, family, recreation, occupation, goals.
Yeah.
But also, hey, every once in a while, this is me talking to a past client that knows, likes, and trusts me to do this orchestrated referral. If I said, hey, Dean, hey, how's the family, blah, 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 and you go, oh, by the way, every once in a while I have people looking for a home in your area. Do you know anybody, any of your neighbors thinking about selling their home in the near future?
Yes. That's great, and that's one of the things that you can do to orchestrate referrals. I always recommend that you have a thought in your mind at the ready that whenever somebody is interacting with you this week, that you have that by the way conversation and you've got that in your mind. Pay attention. When the thing, when I said that 3 things have to happen in a conversation for a referral to happen, they have to notice, that the conversation is about real estate. They have to think of you, and they have to introduce you. Well, the exact thing is true for you. If you notice, what am I doing right now? Who am I working with? Who am I showing homes to? Who am I going to see about a home this week? What listings have I got? What listings am I getting? Just pay attention and notice the kinds of things that you could use a referral for. And then just think about it. When you run into people that you know, you have that frog interaction with them, you have those conversations, and then you introduce this opportunity for them to feel good. See that, and I want everybody to completely reframe that they're asking for a favor. It's not about that. It's not about you asking them to do you a favor by introducing people. You want to come from the place that you've got an opportunity. You're a dopamine dealer. You've got an opportunity for people to feel good. And if you have that kind of confidence and that kind of level, and you can get over any sort of reluctance that you have to ask for a referral, because it doesn't show weakness. It's not begging for business. It doesn't mean that you can't get business on your own. When you think about the kinds of people that you're helping and the specific opportunities that you can give to them to feel good, that's going to make a big difference. And it just in your attitude about it. And that alone is going to improve the interactions that you have with the people when you run into them in the street, you know?
This would work also for open houses, correct? I mean, if you're doing an open house, and who comes by but the nosy neighbors, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
I mean, you could start the orchestrated to like, hey, you know, with this house sells, you know anybody else in the neighborhood thinking about selling?
Yes.
It's an easy way into a conversation with somebody you've never met before.
That's exactly right. So there's something. Now, most of the time when people are doing something to get referrals, and they are trying to encourage referrals, they love to get them, and part of their business strategy, hopefully, is to maintain relationships with their with the people that they know. But often there are some mistakes that they make that are kind of holding them back a little bit. And so I'm going to talk about 4 big mistakes that people make in their relationships. So number 1 is confusing a mailing list with relationship. And there's a difference here. It's okay to have a mailing list. It's great to have a database and to do database marketing, but to separate and know the people who are prospects or suspects versus the people that you have a relationship with. You know, I did some work with one of the a realtor had a list of 1,800 people, and he kept it a printout of it, one line in a big binder, and he would send a newsletter 3 times a year to all 1,800 people, because it's expensive to mail to 1,800 people every month, so we'd do it 3 times a year. And I had him come into the boardroom, and I said, okay, here's a pink highlighter. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at this list that you've got here. And let's go down the pages. And when you come to a name that if you would recognize them by name, if you saw them at the grocery store and you'd stop and have a conversation with them, I want you to highlight that person with a pink highlighter. And so there were 30 on a page in this one-line printout. And so he started going through it. About halfway down the page, he started laughing because he hadn't highlighted anybody yet. So there ended up being 3 people on that first page that he would even recognize by name. And those are the people that you have a relationship with. So the really highest return opportunity that you have is with the people that you have a relationship with. For most people, that's about 150 people. And these don't have to be people who you've done business with already. They could be your friends. They could be family. They could be the kind of people that you're not sort of thinking about marketing to per se. That's kind of like the way that people think about it. But these are the key relationships. These are the ones that you would hope that if they had a real estate need themselves, that they would consider you to be their realtor or to be their lender. Those are the people that we want to build as the foundation of your relationship portfolio. So we want to get it up to or down to 150 people. Now, when people are just starting out, even if you don't have 150, I say, start with 50, start with 100, but just make it a concerted effort that these are going to be my relationship portfolio. This is who I'm going to try and nurture a relationship with. Then mistake number 2 that always comes from that is underestimating the value of a small group of relationships. A lot of times people think, well, surely 1,800 people's got to be better than 150 people or 100 people, right? If I just get a smaller percentage, a smaller piece of that bigger pie. But, the reality is, if you don't recognize them by name, how much do you think they're thinking about you, Scott?
That would probably be 0. The mistake we say is that we think that people are thinking about us a lot more than what they really are.
Yeah.
Hey, Dean, backing up to number 1. So here's where I find, the mistake number 1 is, I find that most people, because of our DNA, maybe because of our DISC profile, that the thrill of the chase, and I hear this over and over and over again, the thrill of the chase of a new deal, instead of building a deeper relationship with somebody that already knows, likes, and trusts me, that I've helped get into a new home, seems to be the challenge, because I don't know what to say to my past clients. I don't have a follow-up system in place. I don't have a process. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if you just, and I tell people this every day, is you just focus on the 150, and that's a proven fact. That's like a proven fact. 150 is about all that you can really have a deep relationship with, that you literally wouldn't need any more business, period, because you'd have more than you could handle.
That's right. It's called the Dunbar number, where that's the number of people that we can have a relationship with. So that's the people that we're talking about, absolutely, and totally making a distinction between a farm area or your prospects or people who have responded to ads or anything like that. That's not what this is about. These are people that know you, like you, trust you. This is your relationship portfolio. Now, mistake number 2 is underestimating the value of that small group, thinking, well, I'd be better off farming a 5,000 home area. And that's true in another division of your business, but in what we call your after unit, the relationship portfolio, the people who you have already done business with or that you already have a relationship with, this is the gold mine. This is the thing that offers the highest return on investment in the time and money and effort that you put into orchestrating referrals with this group. It's the highest possible return. So, I often talk about it with this group of people to think about treating this relationship portfolio, and I've said that word quite a bit, that you treat this relationship portfolio like the asset that it is. It's a financial asset. You have uniquely developed a relationship with these 150 people. And Scott, your 150 people are different than my 150 people. And everybody in an office has a different 150 people that they have a relationship with. Now, there may be slight overlaps in a small town, but nobody, that's where this little winning edge kind of thing goes in. If you're the one that's really putting yourself in, taking the position of acting as their realtor, as their advocate, you're going to be the one that they think about when they notice that a conversation is about real estate, and they can introduce you into that conversation. So what I often look at, and this is where we kind of set metrics and set benchmarks for anything. And what we've found now over 20 years of doing this, focusing on building a referral business, is that it's reasonable and very possible to get a 20% annual yield from your relationship portfolio. So what does that mean? That means that if you have 100 relationships, that you can get 20 referred transactions from that group of 100 people. So let's just do a quick little bit of math here. If we have 100 people and you're getting a 20% yield, that would be 20 referrals. And if we multiply that by the average commission amount that you get, I think a $5,000 would be a conservative figure with the given what the average price is in the United States. That that's $100,000 from a small group of 100 people, or if you have 150 people, 30 referrals, or 50 people, 10 referrals. And so what I would love for people to just get as a frame of reference for what we're talking about in your after unit is, what's your number? What's your number here? How many people do you know? Now, a lot of times people, they think, well, my clients, I can only, I'm only thinking about the people I've done business with. And that's maybe, if you've only been in business for a few years, it may not be 150 people, but you certainly know 150 people. At least 100 people. If you think about your friends and your relatives that live in town and your neighbors and the people that you socialize with, those kind of things those are the people that we're talking about, the people that you would recognize. So I want you to sort of just get a sense of that and think about, what's your number? And so you calculate your number by, you think about, how many people do you know? How many people would that be referring to you if you had a 20% annual yield? How many referrals would that be? And then multiply that number by your average commission. If you live in an area where the average commission is $10,000, that's one thing. If you live in a smaller market where the prices are lower and your average commission is $3,000, whatever it is, just get a frame of reference for you for that. Get a frame of reference for what your relationship portfolio could be worth. And then
what excites me about this, Dean? What excites me about this is, like, say, and everybody knows 50 people, no questions asked.
Right.
You could go right to your phone, 50 people. But, like, when you get to, like, I'm going to use the 100, for example, and you get 20%, think of the 20% of the 20 referrals. That's another 4 deals. You know what I mean? If you literally go, I'm going to build a really unbelievable, and there's some people on this, good friends of mine on this call that I know, they use they understand this method of going deep and building deep relationships. That's another 4 deals, which again is another $20,000. So
yeah, exactly, it just builds on itself.
It just
really
builds on itself. So yeah. For sure.
I'd love to have people just type in your number. What's your number if you just did the quick math on that? And hopefully we can see all these numbers a little later, Scott.
Just to explain what he just went over. So 100 people, like 100 is 100 people in your database. 150 would be 150 people in your database that know, like, and trust you, or just flat out know you. 50 is 50 people. So, and then the 20% is whatever the 20% of how many people you think are in your database.
That's our benchmark. You got to have you got to have a goal. You got to have a specific, measurable goal. A lot of times people just go through things. They know, well, I've got these people, and that's it, and I get what I get from it, right? They do what they do, and they get what they get. But I'd love to start with, how high is high? How high is, what is your number? So type that number in. I'd love to see what some of these numbers are. But then what I want you to look at is to see, how many referrals did you get in this year, in this last 12 months? How many referrals did you get from the 50 or the 100 or the 150 people that
did it match up?
And there you go. Now, this is a life-changing sort of philosophy here that I learned in an article in Business 2.0. I read about this guy, Gamal Aziz, and if you Google, I put it on the slide here, Google Gamal Aziz, Good to Grand. You'll find the article. It was in Business 2.0. But this was fascinating to me as Gamal Aziz took over running the MGM Grand, the biggest hotel in Las Vegas, in the world, actually. And
this story, amazing.
yeah, so what he did was he has an interesting philosophy of what he calls working backwards instead of working forwards. Most people, most business owners are happy with incremental improvements, improving by 10%, improving by 20%, and just steadily improving every aspect of your business. Now, what he did was he walked into the MGM Grand, he looked at every element of the hotel, from the restaurants to the retail to the gaming to the hotel rooms, and he was looking for one number, and that number was how high is high. He started looking at the restaurants. They had their flagship restaurant, which was doing about $4 million a year in revenue, and it was a success. It was profitable. It was a big thing. But he would stand at the entry to the hotel, and night after night he would see people getting in cabs, and he'd ask, where are you going? Where are you going? And they'd be going off to these celebrity restaurants. They'd be going to Spago. They'd be going, to the newest celebrity restaurant. And he knew that if they had a high-end celebrity restaurant right there, that they could be doing $8 million or more. So he goes in and he tears out this successful part of the business, puts in a high-end restaurant, and now they're doing $10 to $12 million a year from their high-end celebrity restaurant. Did the same thing with the salons. They were doing $40 haircuts. They put in a celebrity salon. They're doing $400 haircuts. They had a popular show, FX, which would alternate between David Cassidy and Tommy Tune being the lead guy. They were doing $28 million a year in ticket sales and tore out the theater, partnered with Cirque du Soleil, and they now do $120 million a year in sales. And so his whole thing is he looks at how high is high, and then he counts that gap as a loss. So his guiding philosophy is, I'm losing $4 million because of our successful restaurant here. We're losing almost $100 million in potential ticket sales because of our successful show here. We're losing, $1 million or more on our successful salon because it's not at its highest and best use. So if you take the gap between what your current system is generating in referrals from your relationship portfolio and what it would be if you could get 20%, which I've seen again and again and again. It's a very reasonable and almost conservative benchmark of what you could get, and you start thinking about that. I'm losing this amount of money. I'm losing
by not working my database, by
not
connecting, engaging, and going deep, right?
That's exactly right. By not orchestrating referrals, by just taking what's happening in the passive and reactive referrals.
Right.
So
some big numbers here, Dean.
Really
there's some
is.
Big numbers coming in right now. If you think about it, if you put it in this, and you just work, you work towards that number, and you realize that what you have in front of you already, without buying any leads, without doing anything else, just getting to know your client base that knows, likes, and trusts you is.
And they're competition proof, really. You've got that relationship.
Absolutely.
You're already done. People want to do business with somebody they like, but often they just don't think about it. They, even on people that they know, even though they know you, they might not think about you. So if you're really taking the time to orchestrate those relationships, you're going to be so much better off. Now, what often people do is they confuse being nice to people with an orchestrated referral process. And I see it all the time, that people, that they'll say to me, well, I send a newsletter every month, and I send people flowers in the spring and a pumpkin in the fall, and I send them a nice Christmas gift, and my business card says I heart referrals, but nobody's referring me. And so they're not orchestrating that process. They're just being in contact with people. Being in contact with people is wonderful, and it will get you business. It will get you repeat business and keep you in the mind of your prospects. But to really get the referral business, the big opportunity is to orchestrate that. So you've got to have a process for that. And then mistake number 4, which often people do if they do have a proactive approach to referrals, is they are asking for referrals instead of specific help. Now, what do I mean by that? That a lot of times people will say, we sure appreciate your referrals, or your referrals are the lifeblood of our business, and we're where we are because of your referrals. Don't keep us a secret. Please refer us. You're using those words, referrals, which is a really fluffy word. You can't, if you close your eyes right now, you can't picture a referral the same way that if I said to you, Scott, who's the next person who's going to buy their first house? Now you're searching for something specific, right?
I start thinking.
Yeah, of course. You can't help it. And so our minds are a Rolodex like that. We start thinking and we start searching and looking for whatever we task it with. Now, when we look at this, one of the things that we have to overcome is something called bystander apathy. And what that means is that when you're communicating to a group, most of the time people take comfort in that group and they don't think that you're talking to them. Like when you send out a communication to, dear clients, just want all of you to know that we're having our first-time homebuyer workshop next week. If any of you know anyone who's thinking of buying a home, please feel free to invite them to our workshop or tell them about the workshop. Now, that is the equivalent of what they teach you in first aid. Is if you're the first person on the scene, they tell you don't ever just call out. Somebody call an ambulance. Somebody get a blanket. Because who's somebody?
Yeah, right.
Somebody is somebody else. Right? So they're going to hear that and they're going to turn around and go, yeah, somebody should call an ambulance or somebody should get a blanket. But what do they teach you to do? They teach you to point and make eye contact with one person and say, you, get a blanket. You, call 911. Now, what are the odds that those two are going to get a blanket and call 911 as opposed 100%. To just yelling out? It's exactly the same thing. So rather than communicating to all 150 people and saying, if any of you know anyone, that it's very different than if I said to you, and I ran into you at the grocery store, and this is one of those conversations that you were talking about, and you're saying, because typically they're going to ask you about your business too. And they're going to say, how's business? And you can say, you know what, it's going really well. As a matter of fact, we're having a first-time homebuyer workshop next week at the library. And starting that conversation and asking them that, who's the next person who's going to be buying their first house? And just pause.
That's a good line, man, because literally my mind started racing. I'm like, oh, crap, he's going to ask me this. And I'm like,
well, when you ask the thing, because if you can say to somebody, do you know anybody? That's a different question because it's easy to say no. But if you say, who's the next person you know, they have to start searching. You can't answer that with no. They're answering that. Their mind is searching. We're helpless against it. Our minds are helpless. I don't know if you know this, Scott, but a lot of times our minds work independent of our conscious thought.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Unfortunately.
So if we can ask for specific help, it really goes a very long way, So when we talk about it, here's the mechanics. When we understand the mechanics of orchestrating referrals, we know that they have to notice, we know that they have to think of you, and we know that they have to introduce you. All three of those things have to happen. And so how do we make that happen? How can we orchestrate that? Now, you may remember on our Facebook group I posted up this picture of the pink elephant. And if I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant,
it's not
it's impossible for you not to think of a pink elephant, right? And the way that our minds work is they sort for similarities too. So if I'm saying to you, if I'm asking or saying something, if you hear someone talking about buying their first house, that is a pink elephant. We've planted that suggestion in somebody's mind. That's what really drives all of this, is the power of suggestion. And the power of suggestion works that even if I say, if you hear someone or you see a pink elephant, that is going to cue in that even if you see a purple elephant or a green elephant or a blue elephant, somebody who's not a first-time buyer but a move-up buyer or an investor or somebody who's going to be moving out of town, all of those things are blanketed under that suggestion that you've made to people. And it's pretty exciting because what we're really looking for, we want to suggest to that they might hear some high probability conversations. If you had the ability, Scott, to plant a chip in all of your clients' ears, and just like Homeland Security, you could be alerted when you hear certain trigger words, how likely is it that the 100 or 150 people that you know are going to be in conversation where the conversation is about somebody buying their first home or somebody
probably realistically once a month?
I bet it's even more than that. I mean,
more than that.
When you start thinking about it, it's like constantly. Even these are overt conversations where people are talking about first-time buyers or but a peripheral conversation about that might be getting married. That's going to lead to somebody buying their first home. And as soon as you plant a seed like this, as soon as you plant a seed that these conversations are going to be popping up for people, you are programming them to notice those conversations. Because as soon as, I use the pink elephant as an example. If I say to you, hey, Scott, let me know if you see any pink elephants this week. Like I said, if you're going around and you see a blue elephant, that's going to pop into your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to think that, because even though it wasn't a pink elephant, you're going to call me and say, hey, I saw a blue elephant. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
You know
what's funny, Dean, you bring this up. When I would talk to first-time home buyers, I would talk about buying in investment properties all the time. I was the number one investment guy in town. Because I would literally put that, hey, if your parents or friends or family are thinking about buying investment properties, we have amazing programs for that.
Yes.
And it was for first-time home buyers who haven't even thought about that.
Exactly.
But, I mean, it was amazing that just planting that seed, who would call me? Friends and family and coworkers.
Yeah.
Hey, I was thinking about doing that, and now I'm the expert because I said I was, and nobody disputes the expert, right?
Right. That's exactly right. So what we've been doing is to plant these suggestions in people's minds so that when they notice that a conversation is about real estate, they'll think of us. And then we have to give them specific instructions on what to do to introduce us, because we don't want people just saying, hey, you should call Scott or you should call Dean, and leaving it at that, because that's probably happening a lot. But that's not really where an introduction is being made. So we need to orchestrate it there. So one of the tools that we've been using is something that I created called the world's most interesting postcard. And this is I'm a big believer in looking for what scientists call the minimum effective dose of something. And my friend Tim Ferriss wrote a great book called The 4-Hour Work Week. And one of the things that he talks about in The 4-Hour Body, his follow-up book, is this principle of the minimum effective dose. So if I'm looking that I want to keep in touch with or be in contact with my top 100, I want to do it in a way that is going to make an impact, that's going to make the make the contact, but not be a lot of work and not be a lot of thing. Like going through the process of putting together a whole newsletter and putting that in an envelope and all that stuff is a lot more work, and you're making the impression, but it's not making any more of an impression than sending a postcard. So we use the postcard as this idea of sending something that's really just interesting stuff, all little bite-sized things. Everybody's going to read it. It's certainly the most interesting thing that somebody's going to get in their mailbox. So it's like a newsletter sort of from concentrate. It's a newsletter in a postcard format. But all the magic really happens on the back of the postcard. We have what looks like a Post-it note. That's just a graphic. That's not a, I mean, that's the actual postcard there. That's not an actual Post-it note, but it looks like one. So it gets attention. But every month we put a note on the card that is suggesting, planting that suggestion that they may notice these conversations. So we always start them out the same way, just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about buying their first home. With tax season right around the corner, many people getting refunds plan to use that money to help with their down payment and moving. When you hear someone talking about buying a home this spring, give me a call or text me, because I've got a free home loan report that shows the loan programs with the lowest interest rates and down payments from around the country this week. Audrey. P.S. You'd be amazed at how much picking the wrong mortgage could cost in extra interest payments. So each month we're able to plant the suggestion of a different type of referral. So we may use, in those high probability situations, we may use a first-time buyer. We may use a move-up buyer. We may use a vacation home in the summer. But there's 4 referral triggers on each of the cards where we always start them out with just a quick note in case you hear someone talking, because when you there's an embedded command in there, hear someone talking. You're going to notice that now. And then there's always just a little bit of a supporting reason as to why they might hear that now in particular. They might hear this conversation because in just a few weeks, the spring market's going to be in full swing and people are starting to talk about getting their house ready for market. And so in your mind, you're thinking, oh yeah, that makes sense. I probably might hear somebody like that. But the third trigger, we want to train your clients and the people who know you to not just tell their friend about you, but for them to call you. So the instruction is, when you hear someone talking about selling their house this spring, give me a call, and we usually put in there, or text me, and I'll get you a copy of my new How to Make Your House Show Like a Model Home in One Weekend for Less Than $200 report for home sellers to give them. It's packed with tips to sell for top dollar. P.S. I'm working with lots of buyers right now. I may even have a buyer for their home without them even putting it on the market. So it's what I want to do is cut out the middleman. I want to cut out I want to cut out any risk that they may tell somebody about me, but that they might not call me, because it's more uncomfortable for somebody who doesn't know you to call you than it is for your client, your friend who already knows you. They'd be happy to call you. And what we're doing is we're giving them the opportunity to be the star. We're saying, I'll get you a copy of my new report to give to them, so that they're going to be the bearer of this good thing, so that they feel...
which is huge, because now they're giving something of value that was provided by you to them for their friends, family, coworkers. Brilliant.
And now they get to look like an insider. They get to look like an insider who's a VIP, who's got pull, who's got influence, who is looking out for them. That's really where that dopamine comes from, when they can really feel good about what they're doing. And then in every card above the picture of the agent, we have just the same thing you might say if you saw somebody at the grocery store, just a quick, exactly who you're working with right now. I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house with a pool for a couple from Atlanta. Call me if you know anyone who has one.
I love that too.
So now you're just kind of doing that. Doing that every month. So I've been excited about this. This is our 4th year using this strategy now, and just a couple of case studies. Julie Matthews here in Winter Haven, she had 150 people, 130 people we started out with, and her strategy for her after unit was that every Christmas she would send a magnet calendar that was, you stick on your fridge, and that was it. That was her entire communication with everybody. So she's been in business for over 20 years, knows people. A lot of her business comes from repeat and referral. The year before she started doing that, she had 13 repeat and referral transactions. The first year she sent out the world's most interesting postcard, went to 33 referred transactions. It's kind of funny. Do you remember on the Agent Mastermind Facebook group, I posted up the just listed postcards?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know what your neighbors at 22 Greystone did last night? Well, funny story. Julie lives here in Winter Haven. She's the one that I developed that postcard for in the first place. And when we sent that out, she ended up getting a call from the mailman who was delivering the postcards to come and sell his house. So she ended up selling his house, sold his girlfriend's house, sold them a house together. And this was 14 years ago now, probably.
Amazing.
And then when she started sending the world's most interesting postcard, he was on the list. She was sending the cards to him, and then she got a call from his daughter, who was 14 when Julie sold the house for them. Now she's 27 or 28 and buying her first home, and her dad had given her the postcard where she was
oh my God, that's awesome.
First-time buyers, all full circle. It's just kind of funny. Now, I use that as an example of somebody who's not really doing anything but just sending a calendar to people, and just the impact of that. She walked into her nail tech, and her nail tech almost like ran her down when she walked in there. She goes, "You just saved me $650. And Julie said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Well, I got your world's most interesting postcard, and one of the things on there said if you have a watermark on the wood table, if you put mayonnaise on it, it'll take it away. I was going to have to get that table resurfaced or refinished for $650, and I put the mayonnaise on there and it went away." So it was just kind of like people run into them and start telling them about all the things that are kind of interesting comments. So it's a conversation starter. Then Chuck Charlton on the other end of the spectrum was somebody who had a very active after unit, he'd send a newsletter and every month, and was sending letters throughout the year and doing client events and doing all the things that I was talking about, really nurturing relationships with them. Continued to do all of that and went from 19 repeat and referral transactions to 32 repeat and referral transactions, and has stayed at that level for 4 years now. And just because of orchestrating referrals, not just waiting, not just being nice, not just being there and taking your repeat business, but really orchestrating the referral business. And he and I talk about it, and one of the things that I think happens is that when you're sharing with people every month something different about a different type of person or somebody that you're helping, you often get this sense of, it's like you're saying to your clients that you're open for business, that you're accepting new people, that you're not too busy for them. Because often when we're communicating with people, we're sending out all these things about how busy we are and how many sales we've made and all those kind of things, and our clients maybe think, well, they're probably too busy for my friend, or maybe they only work with luxury homes. They don't want to deal with this first-time buyer here, or maybe they only work in town and they don't want to work with somebody out in the country. So if every month you're kind of suggesting those things, you're programming them over the month. It's just amazing. So I'm happy to get to share that. It's kind of the one thing that is a the lowest cost, kind of highest return thing that you can do.
Absolutely. Dean, we're coming up on an hour, and the whole orchestrated thing just really gets my head spinning a little bit. More importantly, we have hundreds of people going, Dean, this postcard's brilliant. The little subliminal, I call it subliminal messages. I mean, it's kind of like really what you're doing, right?
Right.
Planting the seeds. Do you have anything? I mean, do you have because I know how well you've done. Do you have a shameless plug for anybody to help you to help them out?
I love that. A shameless plug. I have no shame in my plug. It's not. I love it. This is the thing, is that I know that I get the squirts of dopamine when Julie Matthews tells me about the referrals that she's getting. And I know that I get the squirts of dopamine when I see that Chuck Charlton goes from 19 to 32, and how much extra money that means to them, and how much extra, how elegant and effortless it is for them. So I feel great about it. I get to make people feel good. So I don't look at it as a shameless plug, but I've got something that can help people feel great. We have a program called Referrals Every Month, and it's a one-year program. And included with it is a one-year subscription to the world's most interesting postcard. We do a new postcard every month with all kinds of really cool and interesting facts and talking points and fun conversation starters. And then on the back of the card, I write every month a new referral generating Post-it note for you to put on those cards, so you don't have to do any of the creative writing. We already programmed them for those referrals. And all the tools that I talk about when I say if there is a offer for a report on how to make your house show like a model home in one weekend for less than $200, I've written that report, and that comes along with the program with Referrals Every Month. So we've got the Getting Referrals training program. We've been doing this for 4 years now, so we have a lot of audio and referral strategies that what you really get to do is not just you sending out the postcards is one thing. It's the easiest thing to set it and forget it. We even will print and address and mail the postcards for you, so it's literally can be a hands-off thing. But we've been doing this now, as I said, for 4 years, and we've got I've got all kinds of audio trainings and strategies that are referral getting strategies and emails and dialogues that you can use. In addition, it's almost like, Scott, when if they're I liken it to like the postcards are like the air campaign. You're sending in the postcards every month. That's the baseline. It's going in there. And even if you didn't do anything else, the referrals are going to go up, because that's what Julie, she didn't do anything else but send the postcards. Or Chuck, who was already doing a lot of things, added the postcards in addition to what he was already doing and went from 19 to 32. But that's the baseline. That opens up that part of their mind. You're constantly on their mind there, and that those emails and dialogues, like what we talked about early on in the call, if you're showing houses in River Run, to look at who are my clients that live in that complex. And we've got emails and dialogues that you can use as one-to-one communications for very specific ways to ask for referrals. And then we've got audios for the Referrals Every Month member coaching calls, and the whole thing is for one-year membership of $199. It's I always look at this, Scott, I do this, it's way more valuable than that, but I want to start relationships with people. I've got so many things to help people grow their business and to get listings and find buyers and get referrals and get their listings sold and all the things that can grow their business. But this lets me know where people are at. If they're in a situation where they understand the value of their relationships and how that's the easiest thing that they could do to get more business, I want to be in relationship with those people. So that whole thing is $199 for a 1-year membership, and we're going to do a call starting next Tuesday, right after in the afternoon, after the Agent Mastermind call. It's going to be at 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll have a kickoff call, and I'll share kind of the quick start strategies and how to get everything going, and they'll get access to the members area, and they can get their first postcard out this month.
Man, dude, I don't know what it was about that when you said kickoff call. I like the sound of that. I don't know. That's just like,
well, it's such a great thing because it's
game time, right?
Yeah, well, it's a journey. I mean, you know,
It's a journey. Absolutely.
I'm amazed to see what's going to happen for people over the next 12 months to come into it with the numbers of the people that they know, the number of referrals that they've already gotten, and to track and see the difference over the next 12 months. So they can join us at referralseverymonth.com, and I'm excited. I'm excited about it because I know I'm going to get spurts of dopamine.
Dude, I'm telling you, I got a bunch because I know that this, I mean, getting referrals is really the lifeblood of what we are here for, right? We all want to have more referrals coming in, close more deals, more trips to the title company, more trips to the bank, all that fun stuff. So 1-year subscription, that gives you a new card every single month. Is that how that works?
Every single month.
Okay.
Yep.
Every single month. Now, you'll actually ship it for them. I'm sure there's an additional cost, but it's whatever the postage is. Is that how that works?
They can either download and print the card themselves, or they can we can print and address and mail the cards for them, so it's completely hands-off for them, or they can just print the postcards and we can send the postcards to them and they can address them and do whatever. But I'm the kind of guy, and I look for leverage in everything. And if there's a way that I don't have to touch something, I'm all for that. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Right on. Well, what a great way to do a follow-up phone call every 3 months, because, you know, like if you're one thing to send them something, but which is going to trigger referrals, but also, hey, did you see that one postcard I sent you that about that, this, and that? And I mean, it gives you talking points throughout the whole year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you said, people
run up.
Exactly. So, yeah, getting referrals training program. You got that monthly referral, getting emails and dialogues. Dean, you're always coming up with brilliant stuff, and I love how you say stuff. It's amazing. Referrals every month. Member coaching calls. Is that recorded?
Yeah. Well, so we do them live and recorded. So we have.
Oh, you do them live? Okay. So you can get on the live call or the recording.
Yes.
Perfect.
Exactly.
All right. Cool. Dude, the 3 things that, I mean, the big aha moment for me on this call, and I think there's a bunch of other, and we'll take some questions here, but the orchestrated referrals, I think, was a big missing piece for me. I mean, maybe I'm doing it, maybe I'm not, but now that I know what that means, you know what I mean? I can be more aware of it. I think that was my big aha moment. I can be more aware of what is truly transpiring during a conversation with the buyer or seller.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Does this include it doesn't include postage, but it would include the printing of the postcard if you shipped it for them, or how does? And you'll explain all that.
No, $199 is the membership for.
Okay, the membership.
That's the copywriting service. We write the postcard. I write all the messages on the back. I do the coaching calls. All of those things. So you get the 1-year subscription. You get the membership to the Referrals Every Month community, and then the postcards. You can either print them yourself, or we can print and mail them for you, or print them and ship them to you. Either way.
Awesome. Somebody's asking, how long is the call? Next Tuesday, 3 o'clock?
Next Tuesday will be an hour.
An hour call, okay.
Yep.
And somebody said happy birthday. Cindy said happy birthday, Dean. Early happy birthday.
Oh, that's sweet. My
birthday
birthday is on Saturday.
Nice.
That's right.
Yeah. Happy birthday, my friend. The cost $199 per month. Let's see, Paul. Am I missing any question? Are you talking about? This is a good question by Kathy. Are you talking about sending out these cards to farm an area or personal relationships?
No.
These are personal relationships.
Right. These are. That's when I talked about. This isn't the kind of card that you would send to a farm area. This is something that you would send to 100 or 150 people that if you saw them at the grocery store, you'd recognize them by name. These are your relationships, not a mailing list.
That was one of the big questions I was getting, Scotty. The other question that I've been getting that we haven't covered, for the most part, each of the questions have been covered so far, but the other one was, is this specific to U.S. users, or do these postcards also work for Canadian users?
Right.
And at
Yeah,
the same
we have
time,
a lot of...
The send, would that, the part where you can do the done for you sending from you?
Yeah. In Canada, we can't do the done-for-you sending, but we can print and ship them to you. Chuck Charlton is from Canada. The cards are neutral. They're not Canadian or U.S. They're interesting. They would work anywhere in the world that people speak English. It's interesting facts. It's not Americanized or Canadianized. We're not going to be talking about 4th of July or anything that's specifically American or Canadian. So, but the psychology works everywhere that people come equipped with a brain.
Correct. Yeah, and the big thing is it's $199 for the whole year, guys. It's not.
Yes.
It's not $199 a month. It's
No. That's an annual.
You get this. It's $199 one time. You're not going to be. If you stick with it, the following. Obviously, if you double your business, it's probably going to be kind of a no-brainer. You know, we believe in writing small checks to cash big checks. So
Yeah.
A bunch of people are asking, like, to send. Do you whatever your cost is to print and send? Is that kind of how you do it, or?
Yeah, we send, so to print and mail and get the cards first class shipped out. They're, jumbo size cards. They're 8.5 by 5.5, half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. They're beautifully printed. They're UV coated and shipped first class, and we can do them in quantities of 100 for 91 cents per card.
Each.
Everything.
Okay, 91 cents per card. So
in.
with standard printing.
Standard printing, yes.
Okay, cool, awesome. So that he will print and mail them for you for around 91 cents per card. So.
Right.
Yep. So,
Scotty, a bunch of people are.
100 cards is going to cost you $100 to get them there.
That's it. A bunch of people are asking, how can I watch this webinar again? If you want to go over that, Scotty.
Absolutely. So contact the loan professional that sent you here to get a copy of this. If for some reason you did not, or somehow got on the call and you don't know who your sponsor is, just send us an email to amminvite@gmail.com, amminvite@gmail.com. We'll make sure and get you hooked up. And this is amazing. So give us a breakdown. If they send 100 cards, it'll be about $100. There's no cost per month after the $199. That's all yours. You get the cards.
Right, exactly.
You said the cards are 8.5 by, they're half of a 8 by 11 piece of paper, which is a nice size postcard.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, they're beautiful looking. I mean,
yeah. Got a couple loan officers on here, so does it apply to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, the same psychology works every, in every way. It's still the same kind of psychology. Now, you can have, one of the things that we talk about is first-time buyers. That's completely applicable to a loan officer, and they can customize or use as a template the message that I write on the back of the card, and they can customize it for reverse mortgages or refi, or one of the things that we've had people do is saying, just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about lowering their mortgage payment or talking about interest rates. Interest rates continue to go down or just now starting to go up, and one of the things that people may not know when it makes sense for them to refinance. So we put together a report. If you call me or text me, I'll get you a copy of our How to Know When It Makes Sense to Refinance report that you can give them. So we're constantly, just using that formula to orchestrate whatever kind of referrals you want.
Okay, cool. And the question is, no, you do not. Rick asked, you have to print through Dean. No, you do not. It's a downloadable. You can send it to your own print shop. You can send 1 or you can send 100. You send 1,000, whatever. It's your own discretion. You get access to the back end. A lot of thank yous, Dean. A lot of awesome class. A lot of them are going, man, I need my partner to see this. So let's see. Does your photo go on the back? I guess that would be what you upload. Yep. Okay.
Yep. You can put in your photo on the back. Let me show. I'll go back to the card there. So there's what it looks like right there. You can put your photo in there, so that dialog box looks like you're saying, do you know someone looking for a super clean 2-bedroom here in the Westerlies? You can put whatever message you want there. Yep.
Here's a question, and we'll end with this one. And guys, if you, I think Sharif Landers says, would you recommend sending the cards to the same individuals each month, or would you suggest sending 50 cards one month, 50 cards the second month?
Nope. You want to send them to the same every month. You want to send them to the same people. I always say jokingly to people, only send them in the months you want to get referrals.
There you go. Bada boom, bada bing, right? There you go. So if you want to spend 100 to make $5,000, then send them out that month, right? Is that pretty much what you're saying?
I mean, that's it. But, this is why it's one of those things that it's so effortless to do. You don't have to, the real value, and even in that, that having somebody print and mail and address them for you, where literally it's a 10-minute process, is so much, saves you so much time of not having to, deal with anything. And when you look at that over the course of the year, let's say, $1,200, less than $1,200.
Right. One deal.
What is, now you look at that and you have to just I've seen, big increases for people, but even if you get one, it's one of those things that's like
you've tripled
that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things. It's like a blue chip kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's end with this, Dean. So if they go to referralseverymonth.com, because there's a couple people going, okay, I missed that part. Go to referralseverymonth.com.
Yeah.
They sign up. They get a login and password for the back end where the postcards are.
Yes, everything is going to start. We're going to have a whole kickoff call on Tuesday of next week. So I'm going to show them everything. So right now they get in there, and we'll be in communication with them this week between now and the call.
Beautiful, beautiful. Dean, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother.
Awesome.
Can't wait to have you on more classes and bring your brilliance, and your expertise and testimonials from third party. I mean, it's just all here. So sincerely appreciate you, man. So glad we hooked up. And everybody else, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for spending time with us on Agent Mastermind. If you're joining us for the first time and you're still here, go to our private Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Agent Mastermind. Over 6,400 people and growing. If you have a question, feel free to ask it there. Only the people in the group will see the questions. And we appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. Look forward to seeing your success, hearing about your success, and please don't be shy on that Facebook group. Dean, thanks again so much, my brother.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.